On the 13th of March 2021, a train violently slammed into a buffer stop after approaching Kirby station in Merseyside. Despite requiring to slow to 15 miles per hour, the train maintained a high speed and stopped 28 metres past the buffers, causing over £500,000 worth of damage. We now take a look at the factors involved, examining CCTV footage of the crash and learning the shocking truth of why the train driver did not apply the brakes until it was too late. Located northeast of the city of Liverpool, Kirby Station, up until 2023, was a station whereby a single section of track was split into two, operated by two services: the electrified Merseyside services that operate around the Liverpool area, and the diesel engine northern services between Wigan and Manchester. The sections of track end at the station with buffer stops as shown, and separated by 20 metres before the start of the next track. Passengers who wish to swap trains onto the next service would pass under a public footbridge on a platform extension in between the 20-metre gap and behind the buffers. The train involved that fateful day was a 6-car Class 507 electrical multiple unit and operated as train number 2 Kilo 48, the 1853 service from Liverpool Central to Kirby Station. The driver, 59-year-old Philip Hollis, was a competent driver with over 35 years experience, with all assessments completed, and was medically fit to drive. On the 13th of March 2021, the driver started the second part of his shift that day, driving the 1822 Kirkdale to Liverpool Central. The train arrived on time and the driver swapped cabs ready for the trip to Kirby. At 1828, whilst stationary in Liverpool Central, the driver received a WhatsApp from a friend which was open and read. This was going to play a bigger part later down the line. At 18:35 hours, the train left on time and proceeded towards the next stop of Fazacurley. Here is a schematic of the infrastructure between Fazacurley and Kirby, showing exactly what the driver faced and actions he took. After leaving Fazacurley at 18:49, the driver accelerated to line speed of 50 miles per hour, and after passing a set of points entering a single line of track, he decided to coast despite line speed increasing to 60. At 1850, 1851 and 1852, the driver received and acknowledged 3 AWS warnings. These are magnets in the track instructing the driver to see and acknowledge signals by pressing a yellow button in the cab as shown. The driver must press this in a short time frame, otherwise the train will automatically come to a stop. The PSR, you can see, is known as a permanent speed restriction and informs the driver of the upcoming 15 miles per hour speed restriction at Kirby Station. The driver, after seeing this, should immediately reduce their speed. However, records showed that the driver was still coasting at 46 miles per hour. It was in between these 3 AWS warning alerts that two things occurred which would play a huge part in the disaster. The driver admitted to dropping his bag and spilling items all over the floor, which required him to swap his feet on the DSD pedal to retrieve the items. This, known as the driver's safety device, is a dead man's handle that is always pressed to indicate the driver is not incapacitated. If the driver was to release the pedal, then the emergency brakes would kick in. Disturbingly, records also show that the driver sent a WhatsApp text at 18:51 and 34 seconds in response to the text received at Liverpool Station. The exact wordings of the text messages will be shown later. At the same time as these two incidents occurred, the train passed over the M57 motorway. This is a visual landmark that drivers use to signal the approach of Kirby Station. However, the RAIB speculated that this may have been missed due to the driver becoming distracted. At 300 metres before Kirby Station, the train passed a TPWS OSS placed to protect the speed change from 60 miles an hour to 15 miles per hour. Known as the Train Protection Warning System, this automatically applies the brakes if the train is deemed to be going too fast. However, this was set at 53 miles per hour, and with the train now doing 42 miles per hour, nothing happened. The station would now be in sight, and with the final PSR passed, warning that the driver should now be going 15 miles an hour, still the driver did not brake. After arriving at the platform at 41 miles per hour, the driver suddenly realised his mistake and applied full emergency brakes, but it was too late. The CCTV you can now see shows a remarkable event, an impact of the train as it slammed into the buffer stop at 29 miles per hour. Just before impact, the driver jumped out of his cab and into the walkway behind. The train violently broke through the buffers and laid to rest 28 metres behind, just 9 metres away before the buffers on the track used by the northern trains. All 14 people on board sustained a variety of injuries, and the driver was taken to hospital as a precaution. The RAIB quickly ruled out any mechanical or electrical faults and established that there had been no wheel slip, which reduced the train's braking distance. It quickly became a realisation that the accident was created completely by the actions of the driver in using his mobile phone and the items on the floor from his bag. The driver managed to keep pressing both the AWS and DSD pedal whilst not paying full attention. A member of the RAIB team, as shown, created the position the driver would have had to have placed himself in to have gathered all belongings that would have fallen onto the floor of the cab. You can see that the driver would have had to have leaned onto the floor and switched legs on the DSD pedal in order for it not to have been released. For this period, you can obviously see that he would not have any sight of the track from his cab window. The RAIB speculated that he may have missed multiple signs and his visual breaking point of passing over the motorway. Even though the driver was primarily at fault for the accident, the RAIB discovered that 3 very similar incidents had occurred whereby the train had approached too fast and hit the buffer stops at the end of the line. These were in 1987, 1991 and 1997. This prompted the installation of the TPWS system, which is designed to stop a train if approaching too fast. On this occasion, the TPWS was set to activate at over 53 miles per hour. The RAIB recommended that Merseyside Rail conduct a full review of this process. The British Transport Police conducted a full investigation into the crash against the driver Philip Hollis. It was discovered that he had received a text message at Liverpool station saying RIP Murray, and replied in the cab on the way to Kirby Station, "Great commentator," referring to the death of Murray Walker. He was charged with endangering the safety of people on the railway and was sentenced at Liverpool Crown Court to 12 months in prison. For the sake of a few words, disaster occurred. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe for more real life horror videos. Thank you.